One pig and their fucking dog just letting it shit all over the hillside with zero regard for any other fucking thing. Why are you dragging me up a cliff? All right, so I'm gonna try a little experiment for my premium subscribers, which is we're gonna just run the GoPro a little bit during each hike and just give them some uncensored here. So housekeeping, I talk to myself when I'm working my animals. Sometimes I'm talking to my animals, sometimes I'm talking about my animals, sometimes I'm just talking. If that means I'm a crazy person, well, I live with wolves for the last 40 years, so so some of this may be unsafe for work, so not to be played at high volume, really, necessarily. Yeah. All right, hold up. So the other thing you're going to see is that there's a reason why I sometimes refer to myself as the world's most extreme dog walker, and it's because, all right, hang on, I'm not only dealing with whatever the terrain that this guy is throwing at me, or the fact that, Jesus, really? Both these guys have their own minds and sometimes go in directions different from what I want to, right? So it's rope management, but not the same rope management as if you're using those ropes for protection. In fact, these ropes are more likely to trip me up or drag me off a cliff. Oh my God, Iqniq, really? What's interesting is that I guess it must be a bear bed right here. See, so this is super sketch. Where am I right now? And of course, they're on different sides of the tree here. So now I gotta manage this kind of a situation here. Iqniq, come this way. Come on, come here. Right. So he's on, so we're, I don't know, it's hard to judge here, 30, 40 feet up, something. And he could easily just wipe me out. Here we go. Oh, Jesus. Wipe me out. Plus, I'm wearing a 35-pound survival gear pack, plus the belt with the other tools I have to work the animals. And the boots I'm wearing are not really intended for scaling cliffs and boulders so much. And all this pine needle duff is super slippery because it's waxy. That's why I just came up was a little rocky outcropping. I don't know why. I've hiked here thousands of times and they've never decided this was the route. Every day's different. All right, see now, right now I got my legs pinched. Hold up. So that's an example of my off camera, right? I could never do this holding onto a camera. Whew. I can hear my other animals in the background. Hey, Moonie, can we stay? Seriously, one side of the tree or the other, not both of you on different sides. Oh, gosh. All right. All right. So we got it's a little seasonally occupied cabin of a neighbor here. Only guy that ever lives up here on the hill. He's here from like end of May till end of October, early November, weather kind of depending, and then he closes it up for the year. But I'm super respectful of private property. I have permission to pass, but I'm not gonna trespass close to the cabin. So I'm not sure why we're going over here right now. I don't see a whole good reason for it. Hey, Moonie, I'm gonna, oh shit, see, here we go. I'm about to go for a ride. Come on, let's come up this way. Hey, come on. It's no big deal for them to drag me off a cliff. Iqniq weighs as much as me, all on his own, roughly 160 pounds. And Moonie is in the 80s now for sure. Hey, easy. Okay. That was interesting. Of course, now I'm all warm where I want to be in that little. All right, come on, you guys. In some ways, these guys are. Iqniq is a pleasure to hike with ordinarily because he's really chill. He doesn't typically pull too much, although his route selection could sometimes be less than optimal for a human. And Moonie's usually good too. But, oh gosh, they're also my most timid animals, and that means if something, mainly an unfamiliar human being, freaks them out, then they might take me for a ride. So especially when I'm in a precarious spot, I have to be really vigilant about the situation so that they don't decide to freak out and hurt me. I'm actually dealing with a permanent knee injury because a while ago we were not far from here actually when some dude who I'd seen before, who has zero regard for the leash law, was out here with his two loose dogs on a switchback trail. I was halfway up the trail. I could see him coming. The dogs are way out ahead of him. And he was running with giant, like, aircraft avionic headphones on his ears. I couldn't care less. Not a young guy, a guy in his, like, late 50s, early 60s, I don't know. But I could see the dogs coming. I had 3 animals with me, a Kutak, Iqniq, and Bixby, my Malamute. And I was afraid that if those dogs ran into a Kutak and Iqniq that they would come to harm, because my dogs are territorial and don't like other dogs running right up to them, which is why there's a leash law. So I stepped off the trail onto a rock outcropping and held them tight against me so that his dogs could go by, which they did. And the guy following them also went by, zero acknowledgement of my presence. But then as they passed beneath me, they barked at Iqniq and antagonized him, and he jumped off the outcropping, which brought me down and the other 2 animals, and both myself and Bixby were injured. It hurt Bixby's back. It changed his life because it harmed his back, and it completely changed my life because my knee exploded. Turned out later, and I was screaming. I mean, I got, I don't know, 10 to 12 feet drop. My knee buckled the wrong way, and I was lying there screaming. Luckily I was, attached to my animals. That's why I use a belt. Guy, it was roughly, this kind of going into darkness, just like this, which is when I typically would take my animals out. So I avoid running into humans and dogs. And so I'm lying there screaming, badly hurt. Guy doesn't even respond, just leaves me in the dark. And of course I'd come down on my phone, so I had no means of even calling for help. And So I carry poles. I had to drag myself out of there with 3 dogs, 1 injured, 2 healthy, 1 injured dog, a blown up knee. And it turned out that I had fractured the tip off my patella. I cracked the head of my femur so severely that my bone marrow was leaking into the joint. I had a grade 3 ACL, PCL, and MCL tears, and my meniscus was in 3 distinct pieces, including, I guess, what they call the root of the meniscus, which I'm not really sure what that means precisely, but I lost 5 degrees of extension in my knee permanently, and I spent 9 months in the DonJoy brace to try to recover the stability of the knee. 6 different stem cell treatments, because at 55 I wasn't super keen on a knee replacement, because that comes with its own attendant risks, and also the prospect that it could go worse and you could end up being crippled, and I'd rather be in pain than crippled. But the consequence is not only that the injured left knee now hurts with every step I take, and probably will for the rest of my life, but also because my gait is disordered as a result of the foreshortening of the extension, the other knee, the healthy knee, has been damaged too, because it gets pounded by an uneven gait. And so one guy, disrespectful with his off-leash dogs, shortened the life of my beloved Malamute and irrevocably altered my life. And it took me a long time. I just recently figured out who the guy actually was, and I'm looking into whether or not I can still file a personal injury lawsuit, because he ought to be held accountable for what he's done to me. But then people up here have the temerity to think that they call me a Karen because I want people to actually obey the leash law, you know. And the reality is I could very easily just never. It's hard for me because I really love dogs. It's hard for me. I don't want other dogs to get hurt because their owners are idiots, but I have every right to take my animals out, and I do everything I can to avoid. Oh, we got an owl talking. Ooh, ooh. I love that. He's talking to me. Oh, that's so great. I haven't seen a great horned owl up here in a while. All right, let's not freak out over some down cut wood, guys. Come on. I want it to be really clear for anybody watching my video, anytime I write anything, I go above and beyond, even though I don't have to avoid any kind of conflict with other trail users or their animals. I'm the first to seed the trail. I hike at times when, like this, when there's nobody out. I use game trails rather than principal routes. And I don't walk with, stupid music so that I'm unaware of my environment. And I don't have to do any of those things. I have every right to use these trails the way that I do. Arguably, since I'm here every single day and I live right here, my right to quiet enjoyment should, particularly as the law-abiding one, trump the rights of others to break the law on the same trail. But because I don't want anything bad to happen to someone's dog, and I know my dogs are going to be defensive, protective of me, I make every effort to avoid. But, as a result, they say, good intentions. My life is different. I have chronic pain. And so when people have the nerve to say that I'm a Karen, like that's a big insult, for wanting people to actually follow the same set of rules that should be applicable to everyone, well, you can imagine how I feel about that. Something's got Iqniq a little bothered. Moonie's not. Moonie's checking out this little spigot on this ancient water storage. This thing's been here a long time. Let's stay up here. I don't want to go down there right now. I don't want to end up hurt going that way in the dark. We're going to stay up here. So, yeah, there's a lot of nerve to be accusatory of me or say I have an attitude when I've suffered grievous consequences that were completely unnecessary had the guy only been doing what the law requires. And there's going to come a day, I'm afraid, when I'm just going to be done with the selfishness of third parties, and I'm just going to stand my ground because I have every right to. And I'd be curious to see what people think on this little video here. I think I'm well within my rights to use the trail as it was intended, as a law-abiding trail user with my animals on a leash, where any potential conflict whatsoever could be readily avoided simply by other individuals maintaining the legally required control of their pets. And I know the law has me covered. I mean, I know that if something happens to someone's dog because that dog runs up on me because the owner doesn't have control of it, and that dog gets hurt or I get hurt, the other person will be completely and indefensibly on the hook. And all they had to do was just follow the rules. I'm thinking about it a lot right now because had a couple conversations online recently where people, including one clown who works for Zoomies, I guess, I don't probably pronounce it wrong, that lifestyle attire company. Eye roll emoji for that shit. But he actually told me that there's no way he would ever put his dog on a leash because that doesn't align with his lifestyle. That clown, by the way, then proceeded to launch a bunch of ad hominem attacks on me. And the consequence of that is I'm going to write his employer. I screenshotted everything he said. And we'll see whether the corporate overlords at his lifestyle apparel company that affords him a lifestyle to live here in my community without participating in any way the benefit of this community, since he's just another one of these transplant remote workers who thinks that his lifestyle somehow trumps quiet enjoyment of third parties. And we'll see how his bosses feel about that public attitude of lawlessness and disrespect for people like me who have contributed considerably more to my community between civic engagement and nonprofit board membership and fundraising and being an employer, because between me and my wife over the years we've employed 30 to 50 people for years at a time. And we'll see how his employers feel about that entitled attitude and whether they want to have somebody like that on their payroll. And who knows, it could be that they don't, and as a result he won't be able to lifestyle it up here in my town anymore because he'll have to get a job where he actually has to show up at a desk. And frankly, I think that's what he deserves. I'd be curious to see if other people who subscribe to my channel would agree with that. So yeah, I guess that's kind of an informal poll. Does somebody who flaunts the law, does not contribute to a community, and then attacks somebody for simply encouraging other people to do the right thing deserves to get to stay in that community as a lifestyler when they've made those opinions abundantly clear in a public forum? That's the question. Should he face consequences or not? That's what I want to know. Consequences for being a douche nozzle or not. Let me know in the comments. I'm gonna wrap this up. I've got some other stuff I want to focus on while I'm hiking. So I hope you guys enjoy this first edition of Oliver GoPro Uncensored for my member. It'll be published first as a members only video, and then subsequently I'll make it public. But you know, for those of you that subscribe, I want you to have some interesting content that other people haven't seen yet. So with that, peace, pals, out.